Do it now and enjoy it. There's so many companies now that will take care of a lot of these issues and let you pay at, which is a fabulous way to go ahead and take care of them. And then that way it's not going to cost you as much during the inspection
Right.
time. So that's a great company or a great source to use if you don't have the money to do it yourself. Using one of those companies is a great way to also get these things done. This is Beyond the Listing with Judy Ladeur. She is a nationally acclaimed real estate speaker, coach, and consultant whose career has earned her top industry art honors, including Realtor of the Year, Professional Achiever of the Year, and recognition as one of the Swanepoel top 25 most influential women in real estate leadership. She was also awarded on the Shoulders of Giants Award at the 2022 National Association of Realtors meeting for her extraordinary impact on real estate professionals nationwide. Judy's proven systems help agents exceed their goals, elevate their skills, and build substantial, high performing business. I know as one of her agents, as one of her students, she is a phenomenal coach as well. Judy, thanks so much for coming on my podcast today. And I think our conversation is going to be all about staging versus investing. Can tell me a little bit about yourself.
First, let me just thank you, Pam, for inviting me to be a guest on your show. It is a great honor for me to be here today. And I love helping agents fine tune their skills. And staging, I think, is something that is one of the most important skills that an agent can have. But interestingly enough, it is something that a lot of agents are a little nervous about because they think of staging as decorating, offering decorating
Mhm.
tips to a seller. And staging goes so far beyond that. As you said, staging is taking a look and determining what is it going to take to get this house sold. And that is price, condition, location. And when
Yep.
it comes to condition, it is our job and our responsibility to let every seller know what it's going to take to get their home sold and if there's something that needs to be changed or improved. And again, you have to be a little bold sometimes with staging because sometimes people think, oh gosh, you don't like my house or you don't like my decorating. And it has nothing to do
Yep.
with that, right? Staging, if you think about staging, is this: the moment that your house goes on the market for sale, it is no longer your home. It is the future home of another buyer. And staging is, what do I have to do?
Yeah, it's out there for everybody.
Right, yeah. So they're not there to see your decorating tips. They're not there to see all your family photos or whatever. They're in your home to see if it's a home that
Mhm.
they can see themselves living in. And the more neutralized that we can make it, the better. But let me just back up a little bit. The decorating part of it is the easiest part. And again, sometimes challenging for agents to let a
Yeah.
seller know that you have to remove things from the wall, you have to move some furniture around, you have to move some stuff out. But sometimes that house is in a condition that we call more of an investor's property, like an investment house, meaning that there's so much work to be done when someone moves in that most buyers couldn't see themselves moving in and doing the work. And as I told you, I mentioned to you that I have
Yep.
a relative that recently called me, and it was a kind of a sensitive situation. Her husband had just passed away 6 months ago. He was on dialysis for 5 years. Really, nothing was being done with the property. And when she called me, she said, would you be willing to come to my home? It's a few hours away and stage it so I could sell it. So I went there thinking, okay, I'm going to stage it. However, when I arrived, I realized that we were nowhere near close to staging it because the reality is the house needed a new roof. It needed new gutters. We literally had trees and
Yep.
bushes growing out of the gutters. We had torn screens. We had doors that wouldn't even open. We had painting that was needed. There was just so much, even things I could explain, but you wouldn't even understand them because
So it wasn't just a matter of it needed staging, but it It needed cleaning as well,
Right.
and it needed some general maintenance done to
Really,
it.
yeah, general contracting
Yeah,
work to be done. And so I
yeah,
literally said, look, you aren't close to being staging. We have to invest the money. Now, what she said to me was the same thing that so many sellers have said is, why would I replace cabinets for someone else? Why would I replace flooring for someone else? Why would I put a roof on for someone else? And so when the right person can look at your home and say, in order for us to get the maximum value for your home, and it's how quickly we have to do these things, you aren't buying it for the buyer. You are making an investment into your home to increase its value. And not everything will increase its value, but just to give you an idea, we
yeah.
spent all things included, furniture, everything. We spent $50,000, and according to an appraised value that we had on the home before and afterwards, we increased the value of the home by $300,000. So if we take the home up by $300,000 with a $50,000 investment, she put $250,000 in her pocket to use when she sells the house and walks away. And so not everything has to be replaced.
Now, this was something she didn't want to do, correct?
She did not want to do. And she was willing to just walk away.
This was something she didn't want
She was
to
going
do.
to borrow from her 401k. It was just like, I don't have the money to do it. And I said, well, here's the difference. You owe 197,000 on your mortgage. An appraiser, we have two people have given us a value of your home, say that it's going to sell for 275, probably to investors in its condition, which gives you $100,000, which means you can't buy anything once you sell, or you can borrow the money. We'll do
Yeah,
everything that has to be done, and then you'll sell it for $600,000, which gives you, even after the investment, 250,000 additional dollars, or 350,000 to buy a home. Now, ultimately, she wrapped her head around that, but it really took a while because every time we would start on a big project, it was like, why am I doing this for the buyers again? Help me understand this. You're not doing it for the buyers. You're increasing the value of your home. So you're basically investing into your home in order to sell it at a higher price and to sell it faster.
yeah,
And so now,
yeah,
do you necessarily need to replace flooring at home or cabinets or whatever? No, like the right agent should be able to tell you if something is so bad that it's going to prevent buyers from buying it, or they're going to, in their head, reduce the amount that they're going to pay you for that house by the amount that they think they have to spend to put it in. And so sometimes you
yeah,
run into to offers coming in lower, as I'm sure you've seen lots of times before, Pam. And we can do that. So when it comes like to
yeah,
basically, there's always three things that we look at in selling a house. It's price, condition, location. Now, if all three are in line, that
yeah,
house is going to sell at the shortest amount of time for the highest possible price, and you're going to be happy. But let's just say that someone says, look, I want more money for my house. So they want price to be higher than the competition. You can do that in many cases if one, your location is exceptional, or your condition is exceptional, or both are
yeah.
exceptional. You can actually get more money on a price. Let's just say that condition is bad and you don't want to
Sure.
invest, then that's okay. All we have to do is, if you've got a good location, poor condition, you have to adjust the price downward. If you have a terrible location, which
Yeah,
we can't move, then we have to lower price, increase condition. So all three of those things, they're like a balancing scale. And again, the right agent is going to know, how do we adjust upward or downward to arrive at the desired price?
yeah, we
What do we
do.
do? Right.
Yeah.
Now, again, sometimes it's hard.
So, if would you suggest, if, because I tell people all the time, if we do it up front, you're going to make more money and the decision is ultimately
Yes,
yours. But if we do everything up front, then there's less negotiations at the end, right? Or in the middle, or whenever we get a contract, there's less negotiations because everything's been taken
exactly.
care of. And if we spend the money now, then we don't have to spend the money later on, because when it comes to negotiations, it's going to cost three times as much because that's what the buyer sees. So if we take care of whatever needs to be taken care of now, then it won't cost three times as much when the buyer does it. So you would suggest as well to do it up
Absolutely.
front. Spend that extra
Absolutely.
money.
Like I've bought and sold 20 houses. I'm a staging
Hmm.
fanatic. I typically spend 2 months getting my houses ready to sell. That means I'm going to
Hmm.
hire a pod and I'm going to remove about 50% of the stuff. I'm going to paint, I'm going to decorate. Like everything is going to be perfect when it hits the market. And my last three homes sold the first day they hit the market. And always at the high end of the market. Buyers want to walk in and say, gosh, we could just move into this place. There's nothing that we have to do. But let me talk about a couple of little things that I
Yeah.
mentioned there that again I get pushback on sometimes is hiring a pod unit, a pod type unit, and emptying stuff out. Part of staging is does the house engaging all the senses. So if we think about the senses, it's does it smell good? So for ages, like we've done things like, oh, bake cookies before the open house or have something going in the house to make it smell good. That's so that we engage. We don't want it smelling bad. So neutral is okay, but if it smells good, it's oh, it smells like home. It smells like mom's cooking or whatever. So
Hmm.
that's the
Yeah.
senses. It's what do they see? Okay, do they see clutter and do they see a mess? And even from a feng shui standpoint,
Sure.
that's not good. So it has to walk in and it has to be bright, open. We have the lights on, all those things are happening. So it's and what do we hear? So again, sometimes there's soft music or
Yeah.
something, but we don't want something chaotic that's a dog barking in a laundry room and they're just like, I got to get out of here. And
Yeah. You got to set the mood
right.
every
Now,
time.
what happens is when you're, most people, not everyone, are selling a house and the house is totally full. Like their closets are full, their linen closet's full, everything's full. Well, even though buyers don't realize it, if they open a cabinet or they open a closet and it's just completely full, the mind automatically says, geez, I wonder if I'm going to have enough space. It looks like they don't have enough closet space. It looks like there's not enough cabinet space. And
Yeah.
when you hear buyers saying things like that, it's because that house has too much stuff in it. So when you can remove
Yeah.
everything except for what you need to live with until it sells and closes, then it's wow, look at all the space. Look at the linen closet, how spacious it is. Look at the closets, how spacious they are. And so get rid of half of your stuff before it ever hits the market, even before they call their agent over, really.
Sure. You want it light, bright,
Right,
and open. And that's what everybody's attracted to, right? It's a assault to the senses. Like you said, they want it light,
right.
bright, and open. And once they move in, it's different. That's what they're
Right.
looking for
I've actually
then.
had friends and family members, and I've said to them, I have a like a 10-page feng shui. What is feng shui and how does it
Mhm.
impact a house, whether you're living in the house or selling the house? And sometimes I'll say, look, just read through this because, again, even though you might not understand the dynamics behind feng shui, there is something to it. There's something to how people feel when they see certain things. That's why we have the tops of our counters cleared off and we have things set and staged. There is a lot that goes into staging, and you're one of the agents, Pam, that I know that really understands staging and how to do it. I would say at the very most, 10% of agents out there do understand how to properly stage and what needs to be done or not done.
Mhm.
90% of them, or whichever percentage are still active agents, will use someone that's good at
Yeah.
staging. So you don't have to be a great stager, but you have to have that service available to you if you're not comfortable doing it as an agent.
Sure. I have a stager and I go to every staging appointment
Right.
that I go to, right? Just so I know what they tell my clients to
Exactly.
do. And that's if they're not comfortable doing it, it's something we can
Right.
discuss. What's your apprehension of doing it and then how can we get over
Right.
doing that? Because ultimately the stager wants them to move to sell as quickly
Right.
as possible too, because that's their job
Yeah.
as well.
Another
So what do you
Oh, I was
I'm
just going
sorry,
to
go
say
ahead.
another thing that sometimes people are not comfortable with and they don't really want to do it is removing all their personal
Mhm.
photos, their children and their grandchildren,
Yeah,
and they're on the walls, they're on the desk. Mine are on my desk too, but that's because I'm living here. And the reason for that, just for our
yeah,
audience, is that we want them looking at your home, not your photographs. But if while they're in the home,
yeah,
all they're doing is looking, oh, look at little Johnny and look at little Susie and look how cute it is, and they are emotionally feeling like they're in someone else's home, it actually
yeah,
goes against us wanting to make us feel like they're in their future home, right? And sometimes they even kind of want to get out of
yeah,
that house because they feel like an intruder because it feels so much like everyone else's house. So again, it goes to strip like all the personalization stuff and neutralize the home so that they envision themselves with their own photographs and their own furniture and things in that home.
And my one of my last clients, we that was one of her biggest things. She's like, I have to live here, Pam. And I'm like, you do, but you're still thinking of this as
Right.
your home, right? And we're no longer, this is not
Right.
your home anymore. This is just a place that you're living until you sell it and you move to your
Right.
future home. And she had another agent before, and the home didn't sell. So I was her second agent, and I had to come in and tell her, you have, these are some things we're going to do differently. And that was one of the things, was removing her personal items,
Yes.
right? And restaging the home. So we came in and restaged it, took down her personal items, got a pod, removed furniture, removed about half of the stuff she had in the home, and we talked about price because she didn't have the greatest
Mm-hmm.
location. And we talked about price, but we restaged it, and she was able to move to her
Ah,
forever
that's
home now.
beautiful. And
Yeah, it
isn't
was
it
great.
feel so good to
Yeah,
help people do that? Like selling a house is one of the most stressful things that people go through. Now, you and I do it all the time, so for us,
for
it's
sure.
just no big deal. Like I said, I've owned 20 houses, and people are like, I'm like, I don't know, that's the problem with real
Hmm.
estate. You go out, you see a house, you're like, wow, I love this house. Maybe I'll just sell my house and buy this one. But it's a lot of work. I'm
Yeah.
hopefully only going to own a few more houses in my lifetime. I need to quit doing that. But yeah, I hate having my house up for sale. I don't know about you, Pam, but honestly, that's why I spend 2 months making sure that my house is so perfect when they walk in that the first one or two or three people that see it in the first
Yep.
day just buy it because I don't want to keep my house in perfect condition every day for that buyer who's going to pop in at any time. And but again, it really helps you get the maximum money.
Because I know how stressful.
It's like crazy, right? Yeah, and
Yeah, and I got to tell you honestly, Judy, the last time I sold my house, I was extremely unbearable to live
I
with.
know.
So I was the worst client
I think
ever.
we all are, right? It's just like that's why we can't be in the house when other agents are showing it because we just want to take over and help them out a little bit. Another thing that, and this is going back to something that you said in the beginning, Pam, is we also know that there's several phases to getting your home sold and closed, right? So first off, how quickly can we get it sold because it's inconvenient? How much money can we get it sold for? Because everybody wants the most money. But then most sales fall apart at the inspection. And the inspection,
At the
the inspection,
inspection.
right?
Yes.
And that was the big thing with Evelyn's house. As I walked around her house, there were a dozen things just on the outside of walking around that would have failed an inspection. I brought a second realtor over from the area because it's in a different state. It's just said, look, I need a local expert. And what would have happened, even if we could have sold it at that low price, then at the inspection, she still is going, they're going to want her to fix all that stuff. And the other thing, if a buyer, this house that I bought during 2022, which of course, as we know, was a crazy year to buy a house, had 48 major inspection issues. Now, it would have scared off most buyers. It was during a time where sellers
Wow.
were just like, I'm not doing anything. And I knew it could all be fixed, so I still bought the house. But most buyers to see 48 inspection issues would be like, yeah, this house hasn't been maintained as it wasn't. And people didn't take care
Yes.
of it, so I don't want to buy it anymore. So sometimes you don't even have the option as a seller to fix things. They're just walking. Or they're suddenly you're up against the
Yeah.
gun. It's put a new roof on, put a new air conditioner on, put a new this, put a new that in. Sometimes when a home was in really bad condition, I said to a seller, let's go ahead and order an inspection now. We can show the buyers, like,
Hmm.
we'll have it re-inspected afterwards, but let's just see everything that's going to pop up the inspection, fix it now so that we're not dealing with that and trying and having a cell fall apart after 6 weeks of sitting there and starting over from scratch again. So that's another thing to take a look at. Some
Yeah.
things that need to be done
I
are for inspection purposes.
I think that's having a pre-inspection is great to have done, because then because you're right, things do fall apart at the inspection, or it costs you way more than it would have if you had taken care of it in the front end.
Exactly.
And again, if you take care of things in the front end, it'll cost you way less money
It
later on,
definitely will.
because a buyer sees it as it's not
Exactly.
maintained, or it's going to cost them 2, 3 times as much to take care of
Right.
themselves. So take care of it. When I walk through a property, I look at it as what's going to come up as in an inspection.
Exactly.
So when I'm looking at it, that's what I'm looking at for.
Right.
So yeah,
Another
the
thing,
pre-inspection is a great idea.
yeah, another thing that sometimes
Um,
helps is I'm a big goods fan. When like Home Goods loves me when I buy a house because or sell a house because I'm going to use Home Goods. But I always also say to the seller, look, you're
yeah,
going to buy another home, right? So let's buy things that you will love having in your new home, but we can buy them now for this home, whether it's new pillows, new doormat, new wreaths, a new lamp. In Evelyn's case, we actually bought almost all new furniture. The furniture was terrible. And it's look, you hate the furniture anyways. Let's get rid of it now. Let's
yeah,
buy what you'll want then. The house will look beautiful now, and you'll have your new furniture when you move in. So sometimes you need to think of it that way. Is there something that
yeah.
we can go ahead and just buy now that will look nicer in our new home, but it'll also make this home look nicer?
Yeah, for sure. So why would a seller invest money in upgrades for somebody else to enjoy? I know I tell my husband all the time, we should go ahead and make these upgrades now so we can enjoy them
Exactly.
versus waiting until you move, right? I think we should enjoy them. But most people tend to wait until they move to make the upgrades. Why would they want to do that? Do you think?
I'm like,
Or should they
yeah,
do that?
they probably shouldn't. And when people are talking to me, and I'm like you, Pam, I think because we've been in it long enough to realize that I look at everything from a resale standpoint. If I'm painting my house, it's I'm going to
Hmm.
paint my house when I move in, and if I want to sell in 3 years, will this color be good for resale purposes? If I need a new front door,
Yeah.
right? And it'll probably need a front door to sell it. Why not enjoy my front door for 3 years or my landscaping or planting trees right away? So we
Hmm.
know if we can look forward and say, in order to sell it, this has to be done. So let's do it now. We get to enjoy it. I think most people, again,
Yeah.
sometimes things are big ticket items. They're going to wait until it absolutely breaks. The refrigerator works, so why replace it even though it's 40 years old? Or it just, you don't do it because they don't need to do it. But then when they're selling the house, they realize it has to be done. And so if you can just walk around your house and think, what if
Yeah.
I was selling my house now? Or have someone like yourself, right? If you have a client and you said, hey, you know what? For the spring,
Hmm.
bring me over. Let me walk through the house and let's pretend you were going to sell it. Let me tell you what we'd have to do. Go ahead and put those things in now and enjoy them if you can afford it. Now, not everyone can. So, again, if you can't afford to do something that needs to be done to sell your house, then you just make an adjustment on the price. Thinking about it, if you have to adjust the price downward
Yeah.
by $5,000 because you didn't do it, but doing it only cost you $5,000, it's the same 5,000 either way. But not everybody has the ability to
For
pull
sure.
it from somewhere. But if you can, do it now and enjoy it.
Do it now and enjoy it. There's so many companies now that will take care of a lot of these issues and let you pay at, which is a fabulous way to go ahead and take care of them.
Absolutely.
And then that way it's not going to cost you as much during the inspection
Right.
time. So that's a great company or a great source to use if you don't have the money to do it yourself. Using one of those companies is a great way to also get these things done.
Yeah, and if
So
someone's listening and they're thinking, how do I do
I
that?
don't know.
Basically, it's what's called a mechanic's lien in many cases. So they're liening your property. So placing a lien
Mhm.
against your property, which means that when it's sold,
Yeah,
the money can't come to you until that lien's paid off. So if someone's watching the podcast and they think, wait, who would do that? Not everyone will, but if they can place a mechanic's lien against the property, especially for anything dealing with construction, septic, fencing, things like that, garage doors, then yeah, definitely. But yeah, typically they're putting lien against the property, so they do get their money. There's no risk involved. Not everyone will do it, but if they'll do it, that's great.
sure. Sure. There's so many construction companies now or carpet or flooring companies that will do a do now and pay later at closing, which is a great way to do it as well. So we've talked about quite a few things, which is so great having you on here today. What are the most common deal killers in homes that are not properly prepped?
One of the things, and it does deal with the emotional aspects of purchasing, I think, is that You have to keep in mind that the buyers, maybe they're seeing 5 or 6 homes one day, and they see your home and they're like, oh, this is perfect. For whatever reason in our industry, we don't really let the buyer back in until the inspection, which is the biggest hurdle to get over. So it's probably not the best time to be there because they're with an inspector walking through your house going, you're like, wait, what's wrong? And so that scares buyers away. Then you don't get to see it till closing again. I personally, and I wish I would have pulled it
Yeah.
out right now, but I will, I could just, a lot of people know what we're talking about. There's a book called it's a Shutterfly, the company Shutterfly, and you upload photographs, so you put them into a little hardback book.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always did with my sellers is I said to them, as soon as your house goes under contract, I'm going to take the professional photographs that we take, put them into a book. I'm going to have 2 books made. One will be for you to keep for your home, but the other will be for the buyer. And so I want the buyer to get that book as soon as the contract's signed, and I want to show the people at work and their home and their family, this is our home. Oh, look at Susie's room. Oh, look at the backyard. Look at this. Look at that. I want to keep them emotionally engaged in that house up to the point of the inspection because they've already then mentally bought the house and mentally moved
Yeah.
in, and the inspection issues go a lot easier and you're more likely to close. And even though that's just a little trick that I learned years ago, also it saved so many houses from falling apart because I think one of the big thing is one, inspection issues, but the other is they keep looking at homes online even though they've bought one, and then they're thinking, oh geez, should we have waited and could something be better? So if you can lock them in mentally to the house that they purchased, which is your home, you are more likely to be closing on that house. And
Absolutely. They start showing it to everybody
right.
else.
And it
They start showing this picture book to everybody else. What that's a great ideal, right?
yeah,
So they're no longer looking online, they're looking at this
right.
book and showing it to everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, they've wrapped their mind around it, they've wrapped their heart around it. They're showing it to the kids have picked a
Yeah, I
room.
had so many realtors over the
Yeah,
years, they were like, oh man, I'm
I
stealing
love
that
love that idea.
idea. But I think I just came up with it one time because I just thought, geez, like we don't even let them see the house until what is the biggest hurdle in any sale, which is the inspection, outside the appraisal sometimes. But yeah, and it's just, it's hard. You can't even remember what it looks like. And you're thinking, geez, did I make the right decision? So just reinforcing that emotional decision and the decision to purchase your home is, I think, a really important part.
That's it's funny that you should say that. I recently bought a car and I wanted to rent a car just like it for the weekend until this one came in just so I could see
Hmm.
it. And the guy says, I'm sorry, we don't do that. And I said, look, dude, I really want to date it before I marry it. And he was like, what? And I said, I'd like to date it before I marry it. Before I make my final decision, I would like to drive it,
Very
see it.
smart.
So it's the same with the house. You don't get to spend that much time in it before you write an offer.
Exactly.
And then afterwards, it's the inspection.
Exactly.
And then it's closing.
Right. So
It's such a weird process, but it is what it is. So, what is the first conversations agents should have with sellers about price, condition, and their expectations? Because I think that's one of the biggest hurdles is a seller's expectations, let alone the buyer's expectations on purchasing a house.
exactly.
So the sellers.
Yeah, one of the phrases I always use with sellers is I think sometimes if you say to a seller, how much do you want for your house or what do you think your house is worth? It's not a very educated guess on their part most of the time because they might be trying to look online or they might be asking people what they've sold
Mhm.
for. If I say, look, let me do this, let me first show you what buyers are paying for homes like yours here in this area. So there's the education process before it ever gets listed. And once you've shown them what buyers are paying, those are selling prices within the past year in their area, then we know appraisers use the last 6 months, but I typically will take them back even a year. And I'll say, so now based on what buyers are currently paying for homes like yours here in the area, what do you think a buyer will pay for your home? And it's so funny because they'll be like, based on what buyers are paying for homes right now, it looks like this is what they would pay for my home. And that is usually they're pretty much spot on. Say that is probably what they'll pay for your home. And if they say, how do I get more money out of my house? Then we can't change your location. But if you want to take your price up, then we have to increase condition, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we spend
Yeah.
$5,000 to increase the value of your house by 15 if it's possible. And sometimes it's not, but
Yeah,
explaining, what if I see something that is dated, we know that master bathrooms and kitchens are two of the most important things to most buyers, right? And
sure.
there is an emotional decision maker and within every couple, and not always the woman, but the emotional decision maker is looking at how do I feel about this? And if that kitchen needs updating or the kitchen is not very attractive, that is going to be a deterrent. So I think, again, the realtor has to be bold enough and brave enough to say, look, this is going to prevent your house from selling at the maximum price. This is what it would cost to increase the condition of this, which would increase the value to this. Is that something you're willing to do? But all those conversations, when I sit down with a seller, are one of the things that we're going to do once you decide that you want me as your agent is I have to come over and do a staging consultation. I have to do a complete inspection of your house.
Yeah,
It's going to take 3 or 4 hours. I'm going to walk through it very carefully. I am going to be nitpicky. I'm going to look at little things such as you got an outlet cover,
yeah,
which no cover on the outlet, and I'm think you've lived with that for 5 years. That's fine, but I need a cover on it. Okay, you've got a doorknob that's like wiggly and falling apart. I'm going to say I need the doorknob replaced. So I think when right up
yeah,
front, and I don't do this until they've decided that they're listing the house with me because you come back for 3 or 4 hours, but that night or that day that I'm talking to the seller, it's here's everything that's going to be involved in marketing your home in the shortest amount of time for the highest price. So therefore, they know what to expect. And they have to be willing to work with you.
yeah,
If they want a price that's far out of the market, and the condition is not something that they're going to improve or location, then, I have to decide, do I want to spend my time, effort, and dollars, because we don't get paid till it closes either, to work for this particular homeowner. So I got to say, in all honesty, Pam, I don't know about you, but I think most people really
yeah,
appreciate that honesty. They really appreciate you letting them know what has to be done. And 9 times out of 10, every
yeah,
homeowner will work with you, but they just don't always have someone that's honest
yeah.
enough or educated enough as an agent to give them that information.
I have walked away from listings that were where they just didn't want to do the things that they wanted a high price and they weren't necessarily ready to do the things
Right.
to get the price that they wanted. So I have absolutely walked away, but then they've come back
Sometimes,
and then we were able to work together.
right.
But it's just being in that mindset that if you want this is what you have to do. You have to be willing to work for that
Exactly.
price,
Right.
which is because I'm willing to work for you. I need you to work for it.
And really, I look at it as a
Yeah.
partnership. We're
Anyways,
like partnering up with sellers to get them.
yeah,
This is their biggest investment. Our job is to maximize the return on that investment for them. And the right agent knows how to do that. Unfortunately, not all agents are the right agents. Statistically speaking, as NARs, there's 10% of the agents currently in the country. There are 10% of the agents selling 90% of the properties. And when you think of that as a consumer, it's so important to work
yeah,
with someone that you know and trust, because just walking into an office or grabbing an agent off the internet, the odds are 9 out of 10 that is not the right agent for your home. We got 10% of the agents out there doing a great job and they can do all of those things we've talked about here today. And I would encourage any consumer to do a lot of research and to make sure that the questions that you ask that agent tell you that they know how to do everything from start to finish, which is staging versus investing. What's the return on my money? How are we going to keep that buyer engaged?
yeah.
How are we going to get the inspection done? How are we going to get the appraisal through? There's just so many hurdles, and the right agent can get you across all of them most of the time.
And guide you through it all
All
the
the
way
way, right?
for sure.
And it's a
So,
lot more than most people.
Judy, this has been yeah, this has been fantastic. I enjoy talking to you always so much.
Thank you.
I'm lucky I get to do it all the time. Yay. I do. Yes, so let me tell you where to find Judy. Her website is www.judyladeur, and that is JudyLadeur.com. She is on LinkedIn at Judy Ladeur. Again, that is Ladeur, and that's capital D. If you're looking for a great coach, Judy is it. And I'd like to give my thumbs up on that one
Thank you.
too, two of them. Terrific salesperson, great leader in everything that you need, terrific agent and mentor and all the things. Judy, thank you so much for being here today
You're welcome.
and being on my show, Beyond the Listing.
My
And I'm sure I would love to have you back again. And let's chat about something else
I'd
someday.
love it. Thank you so much. And again, my honor to be here today.
There's always more happening beyond the listing. Stick around and catch the next episode for real talk and insights that help you move smarter and farther in real estate.